Welcome back to Creative Quilting the K-Way. We're here at episode 2, and this time we're going to talk about beginning fabric selection. And the words that we're going to look at are value, scale, and contrast. We visited those before in episode 1, and now we're going to put it into play by selecting fabrics for 2 different projects. First one we're going to select things for is one of my quilts called Goddess of Light. It's been one of my very favorites to do. It takes very few fabrics, and it's really exciting to see what happens when you get done with it. So I've probably made over 30 of just this simple design. So let's open it up and see how many fabrics we need. We're going to need fabric A, B, and C, all the same color, but in different values. And then I need a zinger to go along with it. So from this stack, we're going to pick out this quilt. Okay? So what I pulled was a stack of batiks. Sometimes I think we get caught thinking that we have to use the same kind of fabric for an entire project. So let's start there, thinking that we want it to be all batiks, right? As I look at this, I know that I want this one in there for sure. I want that to be my outside border. Right here where the darkest value is. So let's start with that one. Let's throw this one in. Oh, that might be too close. That might be too close. Yep, too close of a step here. Not enough difference in the value there. So let's get rid of that one. That one might work. And let's try this light one. Now, if you're seeing what I'm seeing, this is going to be problematic for me because I'm seeing a very white tone on this print. These are looking a little more ivory, a little off-white. So I know that I won't be happy in that when I have only 3 fabrics. So we're going to get rid of those. Let's try this one. It can be nice to mix a geometric in there. That's not bad, but there's not a whole lot of change in there. It would be a little bit muddy with these. I'd rather get bigger steps in difference in value. So let's take that one out. Let's try this one. Now I like the combination of those two. We've got a small scale and a much larger scale. That isn't bad, but I think we might be able to do better. Sometimes we get locked into using only batiks, but maybe if we put some regular cottons in there with that, we might get something we like even better. Let's try this one. Now I like the changes there, however, I have limited myself because I've got 2 prints that are very similar. Even though one's a batik and one is a regular cotton, the type of pattern that it has, the movement, is very similar. These 2 are too similar. I won't be happy with it. What if I go back to the geometric? That's not a bad combination. I think I could do even better, though. Let's try this one. I like the shape of this one a lot, but I'm too similar to my swirls. So those are not going to be the best choice either. What if I put that one in there? I like that. I do have 2 circular type patterns, but the scale is different. So small and a medium scale. And then I could throw in a geometric. It's picking up a little bit of ivory for me there, so I'm not thinking that I'll be happy with that either. Now that's not bad. That's not bad at all. We've got small, medium, and large. I kind of like that one. However, I've got some over here that I tucked away earlier I'd like to show you as well. What about this for the darkest? Very deep, rich one. Large scale. Let's throw in another large scale, but this time we've got the swirls going on. And then a geometric, much smaller scale. The value differences aren't as great in this one as this one, but I love the excitement and the change of prints in there. So what if we look at both of these and we now add a zinger? So a zinger is going to be our color. Red is red, right? So if I stick red in there, that doesn't look bad, but what I'm seeing is that there's shading in here, which is making this a little murkier. It's not a pure clear red tone. So I don't think I'm going to be happy with that. Let's try this one. This one's got some tinting, so it's not as vivid and rich either. Luckily, I pulled another one that's a beautiful, deep, rich, pure red. When it kicks you in the gut, you know you've nailed it and you have it exactly like it should be. That makes everything pop. So I think I'd be very happy making either this quilt or this one. Which one's your favorite? We'll have to see in another episode which one I decide to cut. So I've got a large scale, an even larger scale, small scale. Here I've got small scale, medium scale, large scale. So I've taken into account both value and scale. This one has higher contrast. Remember that word about the differences in the value? This one has higher contrast than this one. But the excitement in the prints makes it just fine. It'll just be a darker finished quilt than this one would be. This will have some nice light in it. Fabrics for Goddess of Light. And we're going to select another project today as well. We're going to select one from my first book, and it's a modified rail fence is what we're going to look at next. And it's going to be beginning foundation piecing. So this is what the quilt looks like. Also very simple fabric choices. We're going to have a background, which is little black circles in there. We're going to have the dark fences, a zinger, and then 2 borders. So we need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 of the black and whites, and then 1 zinger. I brought out a big stack. The one that grabbed my eye first was this one. I love this. That would make a great outer border. In that tub of fabric, I also had this one. Now they have great contrast, but they're reverses of the same print, so I'm limiting myself. I'm not adding something new with those 2 prints being in the same quilt. So I'm going to toss this one. Let's take a look at what I have. That's not bad, but values are very similar, aren't they? That might work for border and inner border combination, so I'm going to keep that one to the side for right now. That's okay, but it's not really exciting. I think the scale is too similar on it, so it's not really adding much to it. We'll toss that. That one's kind of fun. That looks like Good and Plenty candy, doesn't it? That one's got potential. Ooh, I love that with that. That also has potential. And so does that. What if this was the outer border, this was the inner border, and this is the rail? That might work. Let's try some of these light ones for the background and see what we think. Big change, right? But they're kind of similar in what the design is. What if we flip this back? Now that's more interesting. I like that. Let's look at some of these. Did you see how that muddied it? Something about this design, this print, doesn't have a lot of clarity when it's put with those. Let's see if we can find something better. That's a little cleaner, a little crisper looking. That went back to being muddier again. I kind of like that one. Ooh, I like that one too. But let's switch this out again. That's more dynamic, isn't it? Darker values. Let's just keep playing until it hits us. We're going to know when we hit the right combination. It might be one we've already been to. I think we need to see the zinger in there. This is the color I've selected for the zinger. When I pop that in there, does that change anything? What if I like that better? What if this is the rail along with that one? Or so if this is the rail, right here, the dark are the little records. They look like records to me. There. The background is this. Inner border, outer border with the zinger. I think we've got a winner in that combination. Now, I'm going to throw you for a loop because I've got some other fabrics tucked back here. Sometimes we buy fabrics and they're absolutely terrific, but we don't know what to do with them. So this is a stack of fabrics like that. Now, if we look at it in terms of value, scale, and contrast that we've been talking about, we don't have any contrast difference. We don't have any value difference. Scale only between the large print and this stack. Otherwise, these are very similar in scale. So to put them all in one quilt, we're not going to get a very exciting quilt unless we can add something into them. So as I was looking at this stack, I was thinking of this quilt, No Fences. What if I used all of these pinks for the fence itself, where the black is, or I used it for the background, either one. And in this particular case, I think I'd like to totally switch the values of the quilt and throw this in for the background. So what if we use black here where all the light is? The pinks all become the rails. Already it's looking pretty exciting, but I need a zinger with this. So I started looking at this and thought, okay, I've got orange in there. I went and pulled a batik. Not bad. I also looked at this stack and know that because it's going to be such a dynamic quilt, I'm going to want to make it bigger than the pattern calls for. So I'm going to need more of the zinger than I probably have there. So I went and I pulled some more out. That's an interesting one. This is an interesting one. Then I found the absolute best one. This one makes my heart sing. But I know that I don't have enough of it to make the quilt bigger. So I will add in probably those three with it. Those three, and maybe this one if I need to. But I like these because they're a little darker than the yellow. So by taking those really cool special fabrics that I have and thinking in terms of blending them into one fabric choice in the design, I'm going to be able to make a really dynamic quilt without a lot of value or scale differences in these pieces. And it's still going to look terrific. So here's a color option for No Fences, please. If you come back for another episode, you're going to see me getting the fabrics all ready, ripping this selection, ripping these for No Fences, cutting the fabrics for Goddess of Light, and then in episodes after that, we're actually going to piece them together. Join me again for creative quilting, and we'll get these quilts put together. What I've learned today is that bacon stays better on a BLT if you specify strips, not crumbles. Remember, you are exactly where you should be. Thank you for joining me again for Creative Quilting the K-Way. I look forward to seeing you next time.